My wife wanted an open marriage and then everything changed. I always believed that our marriage was built on trust and shared dreams. For over 8 years, my wife, Anna, and I had built a life that I thought was unshakable. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I was confident that we were on the same page, until the day she proposed something that completely shattered my assumptions. It started on a quiet Tuesday evening. I had come home from a long day at work, exhausted but eager to see Anna. Instead of her usual warm greeting, I found her sitting at the dining table with a group of close friends. Their laughter filled the room, and I could sense an undercurrent of excitement I hadn't noticed before. As I stepped into the room, Anna's eyes met mine. There was an odd gleam in her eyes, one I couldn't quite decipher. "Hey, honey," she said casually, her tone light. "Come sit down. We were just discussing something interesting." I took a seat, trying to brush off the slight unease curling in my stomach. The conversation gradually shifted from mundane topics to something that had clearly been premeditated. One of her friends, Jenna, leaned forward and said, "So, Anna, have you thought more about that idea you mentioned last week?" I frowned, confused. "What idea?" I asked, my heart beginning to race. Anna's smile was gentle but determined. "I was thinking about our marriage," she said. "I want us to consider opening it up." The words hit me like a punch in the gut. "Open it up?" I repeated, incredulity lacing my voice. "What do you mean?" Anna took a breath, as if gathering her thoughts. "I mean, having an open marriage. You know, where we can both see other people. It's becoming a trend these days, and all of my friends are doing it. I've been reading and talking to them, and I just feel like this could be exciting for us." My mind reeled. "Exciting? Anna, I don't understand. We've built our life together, don't you value our commitment?" She looked around at the others for a moment before locking eyes with me again. "I do, I really do," she insisted. "But think about it. Our friends, even some couples I really admire, are exploring new dynamics. It isn't about replacing what we have. It's about exploring our individuality and bringing new energy into our relationship." I sat back, stunned. I had heard about open marriages in passing, but I had never imagined Anna, the woman I loved dearly, would want to try it. "So, you're saying that because it's a trend, we should just, invite others into our lives?" I asked slowly, trying to wrap my head around her logic. Anna's tone was calm, almost persuasive. "It's not just a trend for me, it's a way to experience life differently. It's about breaking free from the monotony. I feel like we've been living in a routine for too long. Our friends are exploring their desires, and I want to see what's out there. It's not a reflection on you. I love you, but sometimes, I wonder if we could be even happier." The room was silent for a few long moments as I tried to process her words. My heart pounded in my chest. I had spent years working hard, sacrificing so much to build a secure life for us. Now, it felt like everything was being questioned in a single sentence. "I'm not sure I understand," I finally said. "You mean to say that because it's trendy, you think it will make you happier? And you expect me to just agree?" Anna's eyes softened, and she reached out to take my hand. "I'm not asking you to decide right away. I just want you to consider it. We could try it for a while, see if it adds excitement to our lives. I promise we'll set boundaries and always come back to each other. It's not about abandoning our commitment, it's about evolving it." I stared at her hand in mine, feeling an overwhelming mix of love, betrayal, and confusion. I wasn't ready to accept that our sacred bond could be so casually redefined. In that moment, I realized that everything was about to change, and I wasn't sure if I was willing, or able, to follow this new path. In the days that followed that fateful dinner, the atmosphere at home grew heavy with unspoken questions and simmering doubts. I couldn't shake the image of Anna's determined smile and the way she had defended the idea of an open marriage by citing trends and peer pressure. My mind was awash with conflicting emotions: love, anger, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, trying to understand how someone I trusted so implicitly could consider dismantling the very foundation of our marriage for what she deemed a passing fad. At first, I tried to approach the situation rationally. I spent long evenings poring over articles, blog posts, and forums about open marriages. I read accounts of couples who claimed to have found liberation and renewed passion through such arrangements. Some stories were filled with tales of deep, honest communication and mutual growth, while others were cautionary warnings about jealousy and disconnection. Yet, the recurring theme in every narrative was that open marriages required a profound level of trust and emotional maturity, qualities I had believed were the bedrock of our union. Now, though, I felt that trust cracking under the weight of Anna's decision. One evening, as I sat in our living room with a cup of coffee in hand, I decided to broach the subject again. "Anna," I began hesitantly, Have you really thought this through? I mean, is it just a trend, or is there something more behind this desire for an open marriage? My voice wavered as I sought reassurance, hoping to catch even a flicker of the woman I once knew. Anna looked at me, her expression a mixture of exasperation and sadness. I have thought about it, and I honestly believe it could add something new to our lives, she replied. I see our friends exploring this, and it makes me wonder if we're missing out on experiences that could make us happier. Her words stung. What if I wasn't enough? I asked myself, struggling to find any logic in reducing our lifelong commitment to a mere trend. Over the next few days, I observed subtle changes in her behavior. While I was still deeply immersed in my work, Anna began spending more time on her phone, texting friends and even making plans that she wouldn't explain to me. I noticed that she was often alone in the study, sometimes giggling on the phone as if she were sharing a secret. At night, when the house was quiet, I would lie awake listening to the faint sound of her laughter, a sound that now felt foreign and distant. My heart sank with every passing moment, and I realized that the open marriage was not just an abstract concept anymore, it was slowly becoming our new reality. Desperate for answers, I reached out to one of Anna's closest friends, Megan, hoping she could shed some light on Anna's sudden shift in perspective. Over coffee one afternoon, I asked, Megan, can you help me understand why Anna is so insistent on this open marriage idea? Is it really just because it's trendy? Megan hesitated before replying, you know, Anna's always been influenced by what's popular. She loves being part of the crowd, fitting in with everyone else. But I think she's also looking for something more, maybe a way to feel free, to break out of the routine. Her words confirmed my worst fears. It wasn't that Anna didn't love me anymore, at least, that's what she insisted, but she seemed desperate to prove to herself and others that our marriage was not confined by traditional expectations. And in doing so, she was willing to risk everything we had built together. That afternoon, as I walked home from the cafe, I felt the chill of isolation settle around me. The more I discovered about Anna's motivations, the more I realized that our relationship was at a crossroads. While she embraced the allure of an open marriage as a means of staying current and connected with her social circle, I was left questioning whether our commitment could survive this radical change. I knew then that the coming days would force us to confront our deepest insecurities and desires. My heart ached with the weight of uncertainty. Was I prepared to accept a love that was shared, or would this trend ultimately erode the intimacy we once held sacred? In the weeks following our heart-to-heart conversation, the reality of our new arrangement began to set in, and I found myself trapped in a relentless inner battle. Each day, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest, questioning who I was in this shifting dynamic. Anna seemed to glide through her days with renewed confidence and excitement, embracing the social energy of our friends and the allure of exploring an open relationship. Meanwhile, I was left grappling with my own identity, feeling increasingly like a spectator in what used to be a partnership built on intimacy and trust. Our mornings, once filled with shared routines and quiet moments over coffee, became awkward and strained. I noticed a subtle change in Anna's demeanor. She was more animated, more engaged with everyone around her. Conversations at breakfast were punctuated by references to her plans with friends, hints of evenings spent out, and a spark in her eyes that I hadn't seen in years. Every smile she exchanged with a friend or every text notification that lit up her phone felt like a reminder that the marriage I thought I knew was evolving into something unrecognizable. At work, I tried to focus on my tasks, yet the thought of her newfound freedom lingered like a dark cloud. I began questioning my self-worth. Was I no longer enough? Every compliment I'd once cherished now echoed hollowly in the recesses of my mind, and every reminder of my hard work at home was tinged with bitterness. I found myself torn between understanding her desire to explore and feeling betrayed by the erosion of our exclusivity. Evenings, once a sanctuary of shared stories and simple comforts, turned into a battlefield of unspoken resentments. When Anna returned from outings, she was full of energy and laughter, recounting details of her adventures with an excitement that left me feeling alienated. You should try going out more, too, she'd suggest lightly, as if I were simply missing out on fun. But how could I when every outing with my colleagues or a chance meeting with old friends only deepened the void inside me? The more she embraced the lifestyle of an open marriage, the more I felt like I was losing a part of myself. My role as the man who once was her sole confidant and partner. I attempted to bridge the widening gap by suggesting we schedule this time, perhaps a date night or a weekend getaway, but these proposals were met with lukewarm responses. Anna would agree half-heartedly and then mention plans with other friends at the last minute. The more she embraced the freedom that came with our new arrangement, the less I felt like I belonged in the picture. It wasn't merely about jealousy, It was about the loss of a shared identity that had defined our marriage for so long. Late one night, after another day filled with silence and longing, I sat in our living room with nothing but the hum of the refrigerator for company. I began questioning everything: my work, our future, and even my own value in a relationship that now seemed to demand a sacrifice of who I was. I felt torn. On one hand, I understood that trends and the allure of social conformity might drive someone to explore new horizons. On the other, I couldn't reconcile that with the vision of the life we once promised to build together. In the quiet darkness, I realized that this struggle wasn't just about accepting Anna's choices. It was about coming to terms with the fact that I had changed too, in ways I hadn't anticipated. The more I tried to adapt, the more I felt I was losing myself in the process. My identity as a husband, as a partner, was being redefined in a way that left me feeling isolated and invisible. I knew something had to give. I had to find a way to either reclaim who I once was or redefine my identity in a manner that allowed me to stand tall again. The coming days would force me to confront these inner demons and decide whether I could truly accept this new normal or if it was time to chart a new course for my own happiness. After weeks of inner turmoil, countless sleepless nights, and relentless soul-searching, I finally reached the moment of truth. I had to reclaim who I was. While Anna embraced the open marriage as just another trendy experiment, something all her friends seemed to be doing, I realized that in doing so, she was slowly eroding the very foundation of our relationship, and along with it, my sense of identity. I had spent too many days questioning my worth, feeling invisible, and wondering if I was merely an accessory to her ever-changing life. I knew it was time to move forward, even if it meant leaving behind the life we had built together. One cold, rainy evening, when the steady rhythm of the raindrops mirrored my somber mood, I sat down in our living room to have one final conversation with Anna. I had rehearsed every word in my head for weeks, trying to summon the courage to say what I knew in my heart. The atmosphere was heavy, and the dim light of our living room only amplified the gravity of the moment. "Anna," I began, my voice trembling slightly but determined, "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. I understand that you believe an open marriage is the way to feel free and stay current. But for me, it's been a slow, painful process of losing who I am. I feel like I'm fading away while you chase after something that isn't really us." Anna looked at me, her eyes a mix of defensiveness and uncertainty. "But we agreed to try it," she replied. "I thought that this new experience might even bring us closer." I shook my head slowly. "Not for me, Anna. Every time you go out with your friends or get excited about meeting someone new, I'm left questioning my importance in your life. I feel like I'm no longer the person you rely on, the one you love. Instead, I'm just here, watching you chase trends and validation from others." Her expression softened briefly, a flicker of regret crossing her face, but it was quickly replaced by a stubborn resolve. "I'm not doing this to hurt you," she said, her tone quiet yet firm. "I need to feel alive, to be part of something that makes me feel current." "Then at what cost?" I asked, my heart aching with each word. "I've dedicated my life to us, working tirelessly to build a future we both dreamed of. Now, I feel like I'm being asked to share that life with a trend, a lifestyle that leaves me feeling neglected, questioning my self-worth every single day." There was a long, heavy silence as my words settled into the space between us. The rain outside drummed persistently on the roof, echoing the finality I felt deep inside. "I'm sorry, Anna," I continued, my voice growing steadier despite the pain. "But I can't keep living like this. I deserve to be with someone who values me for who I am, not someone who is more interested in following what everyone else is doing. I need to reclaim my identity, my happiness, and that means moving forward without you." As I stood up and walked toward the door, I felt a mixture of sorrow and liberation. The decision wasn't easy. I knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and heartache. Yet, the certainty of my need to preserve my dignity and self-worth outweighed the comfort of our familiar, yet increasingly toxic, life together. I paused at the doorway, turning back for one final look. The memories of our once shared dreams, the laughter we had, and the promises made now mingled with the bitterness of betrayal and loss. With a deep, steadying breath, I stepped out into the rainy night, ready to embark on a new journey of self-discovery and healing. In that moment, I knew that moving on was not just a choice, it was an imperative. I was leaving behind the remnants of a shared dream, determined to forge a future where I was seen, valued, and truly loved for who I was. And as the door closed behind me, I felt a bittersweet sense of closure, a final chapter ending, and the promise of a new beginning unfolding before me.